Thanks for joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. I happen to have met our guest at the Aguda convention, but he's certainly somebody has a love for Israel, for the Jewish people. He was wounded in the Yom Kippur War, and he's still going around and pushing for Jewish unity, among other endeavors to get Jews together. I'm referring to Rabbi Benny Gur, a Keren B'Yavne graduate. He is smicha from the Kollel of Mavaseret Zion. As I mentioned, he is a major in the Israeli Defense Forces. He served as a tank commander on the volatile Egyptian front during the Yom Kippur War. He was wounded in battle with Egypt, and now he's a disabled Army veteran. He was in charge of the Reserve Military Rabbinate, where he served as a major for the Southern Command of the IDF. He was director of the Judaism and Zionism section for the Chief Education Headquarters. After his career in the Army, he directed the Aliyah Department of the Jewish Agency's Midwest region in Cleveland for 3 years. When he came back to Israel, he served as deputy director for development of the Jerusalem College of Technology. And for the last 3 decades, he's directed Masimot, a strategic fundraising operation, which projects include monumental Encyclopedia Talmudis, and he's also been a lecturer at Hebrew University. But he's here on behalf of an organization that's 12 years old. It's called Be a Mentsch. Thank you for joining us, Rabbi Benny Gur. Good to speak with you again.
Thank you, Zev, to you and to the listeners and to the viewers. It's really a special opportunity to share with you and with the North American crowd our special experience, especially these days.
Now, before we get to some of the things and you into unity, what is your take? Because the equivalent of what's going on now with the surprise attack happened Yom Kippur, the surprise attack happened Simchas Torah. What do you see from your vantage point, the war that's going on to eradicate Hamas?
Okay, when I was 19 years old, I was in my army service in the Yom Kippur War, and my perspective was as a single soldier in the army. Today, thanks God, I had the opportunity to see and to view this experience as a father, grandfather of many grandchildren, and those are two perspectives that is sharing one common denominator, which is the collapse of the concept. In Yom Kippur War, it was a concept about the Egyptian army, the Syrian army, and the position of the Israeli army as a winner of the Six-Day War. And today, it's a collapse of a concept that our fight with the terror, Hamas underground, was in a very unique approach, and everything is collapsed on the morning of Simchat Torah. So those are two different experiences with a common denominator. And as Israeli, as a Jew, as a Zionist, I think we should share the moral lesson from those two collapses, and we have to come to a conclusion that the additional view, a different view, has to support our Jewish identity in order to be able to bear and to respond to this collapse and to the challenges that are in front of us.
Well, I think the challenges like the Yom Kippur War, Israel was caught off guard. Here, Israel was also caught off guard during the Simchat Torah morning, where Hamas was able to overrun and using sophisticated. Nobody has really come out with a detailed study that I've seen analyzing what exactly happened, but they were able to overcome the wall. They were able to overcome some of the technology, and they were able to be more successful than even thought they were going to be, similar to what happened in Yom Kippur War, where the Egyptians were able to overrun the vaulted Bar-Lev line, right? And I mean, thank God Israel won at the end, but it came at a tremendous cost. I think this time we learned some of our lessons in previous wars, but the fact is that we were overrun. It was a lack of, I'm not sure why, that nobody was really paying attention to what's happening in the Gaza border, at least not careful attention.
At the Yom Kippur days, it was a collapse of a military conflict between us and the Egyptian. Israel was in the mood of the total winning of the Six-Day War, and it was no expectation that the Syrian and the Egyptian army will dare to break this kind of ceasefire that was at the time. These days, the collapse of the attitude towards the Hamas was that they will not dare to invade our settlements, to slaughter our people, to rape our women, and to destroy our settlements. Take in consideration the fact of the deportation from the Gush Katif area that was 17 years ago. We were told that the fact that we are withdrawing from the settlements in the Gaza Strip will create some kind of understanding by the terrorists that basically we are willing to give them the authority to govern their areas and their territories. And unfortunately, we are revealing that if we are giving up, if we are creating some kind of a illusion by our enemies that we are giving up and we are not willing to fight until the independence of the governing of the state of Israel is clear to our enemies, they are trying to create a situation of total destruction of our settlements and our people. And this is a total different moral lesson that we are learning from this Simchat Torah war.
Now, you have an organization, Be a Mensch, and I'm going to tie it into with the wars that have happened in Yom Kippur and here. But what is Be a Mensch all about? You want people to act friendly to each other? What I love the Be a Mensch, which is more of an American concept than an Israeli concept, right? But how did that all come about? What does it mean to be a mensch as far as your organization is concerned?
Okay, Be a Mensch is really unusual name of organization that is doing unity and achdut and kirub.
In Israel, so an Israeli-based group. It's primarily in Israel.
Yeah, it was based in Israel by American founders that was involved heavily in the Or Sameach organization. And Be a Mensch is some kind of a declaration that before we are dealing with any kind of discussion, negotiation, trying to approach different crowd, we have to reflect some kind of mensch, some kind of human warmth, some kind of interest in our partners, some kind of reflecting that basically we are interested in their mensch image and not preaching for their chazara b'tshuva, because this creates resentment, this creates a distance.
So what you're saying
So
basically is that you have between religious and non-religious, between religious and secular, it shouldn't be based on religious saying, I want you to become religious. It should be on a different base of just relating to one another. Is that what you're saying?
Right. To relate to one another, we are one people. We really care about our partner to the operation as being member of the Jewish people. and the kind of communication channel that we are trying to establish is not based on our interests, so-called, that can be viewed by our partners, that we want to convert them into Yiddishkeit, as we call it in Hebrew, hadata b'lshon religion, that we want to create them chozrim b'tshuva. This creates a major distance, and we have a total different channel of discussion, channel of a human relation with the people that we are involved with.
So how successful is the organization to Be a Mensch? Because prior to the Simchat Torah war, there was a lot of divisions in Israel. So not just between religious and non-religious, between right-wing, left-wing, forces against judicial reform, for judicial reform. It seemed that if it wouldn't have been for the only sliver of a silver lining in Simchat Torah war of October 7th was the unity. But prior to that, we were in one of the worst shapes, I think, that Israel has been in a long time as far as unity was concerned.
Well, let's start with the facts. Facts speaks for itself, and the facts that allowed Mentsch to operate within the different circles in the Israeli society is reflecting the fact that we were accepted to work within all the environment of hostility and against religion that was in Israel prior to the war. And let me explain my facts. Ministry of Education allowed us and invited us to be involved in 1,700 hours working with high school non-religious high schools all over Israel. And this is almost unheard of because most of the religious organization were giving a big no in their operation, a big prohibition in their operation within the high school system. And our organization got the voucher of operation because they were really convinced that we are not coming there to convert, we are coming there to communicate and to create understanding. And we are now standing in the challenge of being able to exercise and to express this option within the Israeli high school, and it really depends on the funds that we'll be able to fundraise in order to be able to execute those hours. This is one channel. The other channel is the Israeli army. I can tell you that I was experiencing meetings with the Israeli pilot graduate of pilot course. The final month of their course is knowing the Israeli society, and we got the license, so-called, to experience presenting to the new pilots the Israeli and the Haredi society, being able to come with our people and to communicate with them and to create really a very, very warm Menschlichkeit type of atmosphere that create very positive attitudes. Another channel, we are working with the Israeli Scouts movement. We have a weekly meeting with their leaders, and this is a long-run kind of operation. Another thing is that we have an opportunity to be involved with Israeli high-tech and business people being invited to their homes and meeting with their friends. And this is really under the radar kind of meetings that create a lot of desire to continue those meetings for long terms. In addition to that, I can recall our special attitude towards the demonstrators during the bad days before the war, when people came to Bnei Brak and demonstrated against the people in Bnei Brak. We came out with the chulant to the people.
Okay.
And on the Chuland environment, it was a total different atmosphere, much more positive, much more a close kind of attitude between the two camps.
You remember Shlomo Kabel when they had demonstrations in Jerusalem where they threw stones? Shlomo Kabel said, "Don't throw stones, throw challah." So you gave him chont.
That is true, and this was really an outstanding experience. So our attitude is coming from the point that we are one people in spite of the fact that people are not Shomrei Mitzvot, okay? We have a common denominator. Common denominator is the Jewish existence of the state, is the interest of the Jewish people, is the threat against the Jewish people from anti-Semitism wherever you live, whether it's inside or outside Israel. And unfortunately, claiming this, the 5 minutes in Simchat Torah between 6:35 in the morning and 6:40, when everything break out, and the potential of unity of the Jewish people had experienced, people coming to help, coming to save, coming to fight for others. This is exactly the theory and the practice that we are presenting.
Our guest is Rabbi Benny Gur. He is a major in the IDF. He served as a tank commander who was wounded, disabled in the Yom Kippur War with Egypt. And today he's a key advisor to the growth and development of a group called Mentsch, an Israeli-based organization with an English name, Mentsch. And they're there to promote harmony between all factors of the Israeli society, secular, religious, right, left, etc. You know, you remind me, Rabbi Benny Gur, is that recently, when we did a program, is that the Belzer Rebbe has a program where he encourages former Belzer Hasidim who are no longer to have just get-togethers and food with no pressure to kiruv. It's not a kiruv group, but just a get-together. So I think is that the latest trend where to promote harmony is that you just do get-together, but you don't put any pressure about returning to religion.
That is true, and I think the Haredi and the modern religious circles in Israel are now in a different position, being able to understand that in spite all the disputes we had before the war, the basic common denominator between all segments of Israeli and Jewish society is so strong. Everything really blessed out at the morning of Simchat Torah, and on those bases, I believe that we have to try and to build the structure of unity between the people on more solid and basis. And thanks God, we have the people, we have the experience, we have the desire, we have the belief. We just need partners that will assist us to experiment and to express those basics, feelings and hopes that we have.
So let me ask this, Major Rabbi Benny Gur. Let me answer this question. Yom Kippur War, which is analogous to the Simchat Torah War, you had unity, you had a war cabinet, everybody was together. And unfortunately, when things got back to normal, one of the things that got back to normal was this unity. Now, the concern that I have is that right now we have a tremendous unity. I love the unity. And when we did a story, even in America, Rabbi Ron Eisman, he's a young Israel of Passaic, where he sees a gentleman wearing tattoos from head to toe, no yarmulke, and he talks to me, finds the man, the bus company refused to take him and his colleagues to the rally from upstate New York. He spent 9 hours going there. He goes, "Can I give you a hug?" And he goes, "I can only give you a hug if you give me a blessing, a bracha." He says, I'm a rabbi, I don't give blessings. He goes, "I want a blessing. I'll meet a nice Jewish girl. This is before Hanukkah, so I can spend Hanukkah together." So Rabbi Brosman says, "Okay, Eisman says, I'll give you a blessing." He gives him a bracha. And then he gets an email saying that he actually met a Jewish girl at the rally in Washington, and he has a Jewish girlfriend now and will marry Jewish. So you see these incredible stories, but the question, though, is the day after, can we sustain that unity, considering the fact that it's happened before, we had tremendous unity, and then, as I said, we just go back to the old ways?
I feel that the impact of the revolution that we had because of the Simchat Torah war is affecting the religious, the Haredi, and the non-religious circles in Israel. And as much as we'll be able to create the opportunity to meet more and more people, not from our camp, from the other camp, and also influence people from our religious camp to join those who are working on the unity and to train them and to create the ability to establish those communication channels on a more friendly and more menschlichkeit channels. I think this will be able to expand the circles and the numbers that people that engage in this kind of social meetings inside Israel. I would like to mention that in Mentsch we have a team of 40 men and women that have a yeshiva background, have a seminar background, and they are now involved in the life of Israel, in high tech, in economics, in the business. Those are people that part of their education is a yeshiva background, and the other experience is being them involved in the regular society, economic Israeli life. So those two experiences with their circles of Torah and the real life is creating their ability to communicate with other people from other social segments. And we are calling to expand those people who are volunteering to join us, because the demand is so much beyond our ability at this point to fulfill all the demands. The demand is expanding. The potential is there, and I believe that with the support of the people, we'll be able to train more people and to respond to the requests that we have from all over the Israeli society.
So give me numbers. Be a Mensch is First of all, what's the be a mensch in Hebrew? What's the Hebrew equivalent? Zaya mensch?
Well, Mensch, I think it's an international Jewish term that even the Sephardim who are not so experienced in Yiddish understand what being a Mensch is. Because of the strange sound of the name of be a Mensch, this immediately creates an attention and interest to understand what is behind the name. And as I'm saying, anywhere that we are going, whether it's Sfardim, whether it's in the development area, whether it's in Yerushalayim, in Tel Aviv, BMH create an interest. And as much as we are going into behind the scene, we are able to expose and to present our unique attitude towards negotiation between the different circles in the Israeli and the Jewish society.
How large is be a mensch? How many people do you have total that are involved? How many people have been affected by what you're doing?
Well, I can tell you that we have a team, as of now, team of 40 people, 20 men and 20 women, and we are now in a process of absorbing more people who are applying and that aware of the importance of the work that we are doing. I can tell you that behind our total bottom line experience, we were able to approach thousands of Israeli high school students. And if you transform the numbers of 1,700 hours that we have right now in front of us, being able to perform this request from Ministry of Education, if you will multiply 1,700 hours times 30 people average, students average in a class, you'll get that we have right away an opportunity to present our operation to more than 50,000 high school kids in Israel.
Which is very impressive. So let me ask this question. You be a mensch is you mentioned a Yiddish term. Let me throw out another Yiddish term. In order to do what you're doing, you need to have geld, money. Who funds your organization?
Okay, I really, being so many years involved in the fundraising professional operation, I met Rabbi Dr. Gedult, and I was so impressed by the fact that he, from his own pocket, by the years, had invested more than $700,000 budget to the operation. And right now, because of the expanding demand to the operation of the organization, we need more assistance in order to be able to perform and to execute what is demand from us. So basically, if you would like to be a partner of BMH operation, by sponsoring $100 an hour of our people presenting to high school kids in Israel, you'll be able to be a sponsor of 1 hour of our operation, which means that for 1,700 hours, we need a budget of $170,000. And I can tell you that by a Canadian gentleman who understands the potential and the importance, he has a promise to match every dollar that is being donated to the high school project. He will match his own money, so we will be able to double the capacity of this operation by the back-to-back donation that is promised.
I'll ask you to give it now, the information where people can find out how to be a mensch, to help be a mensch. We'll give it down. Where do people reach you or reach the Be a Mensch group? Is there an
you can go immediately into our website, Be a Mensch. Okay, if you Google our website, Be a Mensch, and you will be able to see all the information that is connected to how to contact us. And besides that, I have my own Israeli WhatsApp number that you can contact me, and will be able to, of course, respond to any kind of request. So my WhatsApp number is 972-52-4479-461. And if you will WhatsApp me, we'll immediately respond. I will repeat that number, 972-52-4479-461. This is the WhatsApp, and if you are there, you'll be able to connect to our high school project that is really our top priority these days.
I understand that even though Be a Mensch group is primarily Israel based and Israel focused, but you're coming to America to try to establish that same concept here with a Shabbaton?
Yeah, this is really the depth of the point that we are trying to present. Okay, people in the Jewish communities all over the world can reflect their interest in strengthening Israel by being partner of BMH. Because if your donation is helping us to go to the high school kids and to the scouts movement and to the high-tech people and to the army, this is your share in the unity of the Jewish people in Israel and also all over the world. Okay, I think the main point is that not only physical equipment like as a helmet, like as other equipment that is needed for the Israeli army, this is also equipment of supporting the Israeli unity that is part of the resilience of the Jewish people, especially these days.
You know, you remind me and I mentioned this when I first met you, about 20 years ago, I was approached by a group that had a concept in Israel, and it was an Israeli-based group, but it was called "How Not to Be a Schnorrer." That was the name of the group. They taught people how to be a collector as opposed to a schnorrer. Schnorrer has a bad connotation. Again, using that English concept of schnorrer, which I guess it's Yiddish, but transcends Sephardim, Ashkenazim, in Israel. I know to be a mensch is transcending that too. So,
Right. My slogan is "No more schnorr."
uh-huh.
Okay, which sounds really sharp and short. However, I would like to emphasize that following the well-known Jewish psychologist that established the logotherapy that said men's look for meaning, and I'm saying that the donor is looking for meaning. And the meaning that we are offering here is a very deep and very easy these days to communicate. The name of this psychologist was Viktor Frankl, well known after the Holocaust. Men's look for meaning, and we are saying that the donor is looking for meaning, and our job and our task and our challenge is to present the meaning as the communication and connection between the donor and our activity inside the Israel and the Jewish people.
Let me ask you this. I would assume that food plays a role in bridging the gap, because one thing that Jews can relate to, if it's a good meal, you mentioned the chont in B'nai Brak that you help give out to the demonstrators, which change the dynamics on the ground. Is that an important focal point of the Be a Mensch encounters? Is that food plays a role?
That is true. BMH has a message not only between the religious and the non-religious sectors in Israel. It has also a message to the mitzvah, to the Torah observers inside Israel. Let's change the attitude. Try to see the people who are not observing mitzvah as a mensch, as part of our people, and we have to be with them in all situation under no circumstances.
I want to thank you for what you're doing, both your service. You were wounded, as I mentioned earlier. That's Major Rabbi Benny Gore. He was wounded. He was a tank commander in the Yom Kippur War. He's disabled. He was a major in the IDF, but he still is involved in fighting for the Jewish people. His latest project is Be a Mensch, which is Israeli-based, to get all sides to be cooperate with one another, to love each other, to keep that unity going. So, Rabbi Benny Gore, if people want to learn more, let's give out the information one more time where people can either log on or contact you about being part of Be a Mensch and about your Shabbaton coming up in America in the 5 towns with Gabriel Sanders, who is an important part of our programming over the years.
Okay, so one option is through the web, Be a Mensch, and the other one is my personal WhatsApp number 97252-4479-461, and I'm inviting you to be a partner in the resilience of the Jewish people, especially these days. We need partners. We have the opportunity, and together we will win, as the slogan of this war. Together we will win also on the spiritual battle of the Jewish people these days. Toda Rabba, Zev. I really appreciate your work. I appreciate your service to the people. And I really hope that the word will be able to spread it around all over North America and other people in the parts of the world that are listening to your wonderful program. Toda Rabba.
And thank you. That's IDF Major Rabbi Benny Gore. The organization's Be a Mensch, and smile and reach out to somebody that you may not know, that may not look like you. And that's something important. To be a mensch is not only in Israel, it should be the way we conduct ourselves here. That unity of the Simchat Torah war should transcend the war and continue on an everyday basis. Thank you for joining us.
Toda Rabba, Zev.
Thank you for tuning in to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.